Okay, so once again, we come across this section where it says what you can do with reports for time. Now, in this case, like I said, it's only subjective to what you position that you are in the company. So that means whatever position you're in the company is going to be determining what kind of reports that you're going to make. However, here they just want me to show you that you can do time reports. So anything that deals with any time. So in this case, it's going to be under jobs, time, and mileage. And these are the reports that you can do. You could do your jobs. So again, every time we linked a bill or an expense to a person, we created a job for them and we billed them right after. So here you can do a what's called, a job costing kind of type of report that's based on the job that you created. You could do a lot of other things such as even times, estimates, time based on the job, time based on each person, right? Time based on each job. We're going to talk about mileage right now. So again, you could do mileage reports. So again, these are more or less under the same criteria as exactly the time, cost, and billing window, right? You have your jobs, which are normally your expenses. You have your items that you can make your the items that you have there. You have your time and you have your mileage. All right. So again, it's going to be based on what position you are in the company. So if you are the person that's managing these expenses, then you would most likely do the jobs section. If you are the HR and you need to make sure that your employees are doing their times correctly or submitting their times, you could do time reports. And you can even do times based on jobs, right? Say, well, how much of the actual main time is each employee spending time for, right? What kind of job are they doing, right? Again, I'm not going to show you any reports here, but that is just so then you guys are aware that those are the types of reports that you can do under time, okay? So again, we're going to dive right into the last section here, which is going to be mileage, okay? So again, this is perfect because especially when you have companies that travel or like you have to travel from city to city, or maybe you have what's called an on-site or off-site location. So off-site meaning you have to go to the actual other customer's company to fix their issue or whatever it is. So most of these photo shoots, right, when they choose an outdoor session, right, you have to drive all the way out to that national park or all the way out to that specific place that they want to take a photo shoot at. So in that case, right, because that's considered something that, the employee is not going to pay for the gas for that, right? There must be a way that because the amount that you're being paid for shouldn't be covering those extra costs that it takes to do the job, right? So in this case, by law, yes, you can have a specific mileage reimbursement rate. All right, and that's determined by IRS, just exactly how depreciation is also determined by IRS, right? Same situation here because in this case, right, when we talk about mileage, right, we can either base it on by the prices of the gas, by the state that you live in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But in this case, by law, the federal government as well as the state government, they have this mileage book that's coded for a specific state on how much you can go up to reimburse for. Most cases, things like companies like Uber or Lyft, they go based on based on that rate as well. Okay, so once again, they can't cover 100%. It's only a certain amount of percentage or per cent per gallon kind of ordeal. So in that kind of case, again, because you're doing the job, if you're taking off-roading trips to other places, that's your own time. But if it's directly to the location and back, then yes, you can get reimbursed for that. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in, because the first thing we got to do is we actually have to create an item for the mileage for itself. So I have to create an other charge item and name this mileage, right? So like we've been doing before, right, we're going to go all the way to items and services, whether it's on the home page or on the list menu. And I'm going to go ahead and create that. Because again, it's considered an other charge, right? You're charging your customers or you're charging the company. Either or, okay? So in this case, other charge. Okay? And this is going to be mileage. Okay? And in this case, it's very important that you know that this is going to be part of an assembly, right? So once you've clicked that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and reimburse. Reimbursements for mileage. And again, the cost, again, is going to be what we're going to take a look at. And the account, so the cost here, right, is going to be when we go look into the system of what IRS tells us that the appropriate mileage is going to be, then that's what the cost is going to be, okay? So in this case, we don't know what it is, okay? However, what we do know here is that we do need to make a linkage to these accounts. So again, the very first thing, the expense is going to be for auto mobile expense, okay? And again, the sales, again, we're not technically doing a sales price, but it is going to be considered a reimbursable expense. Okay, reimbursable expense income. Okay, so in this case, we're not selling a product, but what we are doing is essentially we're acting as if we do sell the product, right, the money that we earn is going to basically reimburse the expense that we encountered, right? So in this case, it's going to be like that. And of course, we don't know how much that reimbursement is going to be. Okay, again, that's going to be figured out when we actually enter in our mileage. So once we figure all that stuff out, again, we don't have, it's most likely when it can be taxable because, again, our item that we're doing is we're paying for gas. Gas is taxed. So in this case, we're going to leave it like that. Okay. So when everything looks good, we're going to go ahead and select OK. All right. So this is how we actually enter in our mileage. Since it doesn't really involve a vendor, or it doesn't really involve a customer, and of course an employee is probably going to be the one that's going to be entering this in. Unfortunately, it's not going to be on any of those. And the only way that you're going to be able to enter mileage is through the company menu. Okay. If you click on company, you should be able to see enter mileage, manage, enter vehicle mileage. Okay. That's the only way that you can do it, right? On your home page, you don't have that section at all. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, enter vehicle mileage. So this is where you're going to get this little window here where you are going to be able to be linking or passing on the mileage to your customers. But first off, we need to enter in you need to enter in what kind of vehicle you have and so on and so forth. So the first thing that we have here is going to be entering the vehicle. Now in this case, if I go ahead and click this drop-down menu, I don't have any vehicles available, right? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and enter in a new vehicle. This is going to be the 2024 Prius. Okay? And again, I'm going to click tab, and it's going to say, well, 2024 Prius is not a vehicle listed. And I'm going to go ahead and click quick add. Right? So there you go. Now I have the 2024 Prius available. Okay. Now in this case, we're going to be taking a look at what the options is. So again, the trip start date. So when did you actually do this trip? In this case, we completed this trip, or in this case, we had to drive to the actual location for the photo shoot. We had to do this on I believe it was the February 10. Okay, so there you go. February, okay, not February. February 10. Again, it's supposed to be for the future, but it's okay. That's fine here. Okay. And when does the end of the trip date end? In this case, it's going to be the same day. 10th, right? It's not a weekend trip. It's just a day trip, right? So the next thing you're going to do is, what's the odometer starting point? This is where it's important, because this is how you're going to keep track of the actual mileage. You're going to go out to your car, check the odometer before you start, and you're going to check the odometer when you complete the once you complete the trip. So in this case, my odometer, okay, is going to be, the start is 75042. I think that number's wrong, by the way. And then this one here is for the odometer ending is going to be 75252. So let's see. It's supposed to be a total of 210 miles. Should automatically calculate for me. Okay, okay. I did a typo. So 75042, and then the end is going to be 75. There you go, 210. Okay, perfect. So that's the trip start date. I had only this many miles and that many miles here, and right here tells me that I have now the 210 miles. Okay. Then, of course, what was the customer / job? In this case, this was for Mr. Bob Mason. Okay. And, of course, the item was an outdoor photo session. Okay. And, again, what was the class? He belongs to San Jose. And what's the note here? And then I'm going to go ahead and say that we had to drive to their location for the on-site photo shoot. So in this case, let's see what it says here. Okay, so again, mileage. Oh, wait, hold on. The item. Oh, the item is actually mileage. My bad. Mileage. And it's San Jose. And again, the note here is to say here that it was for the site visit for photo shoot. Site visit for photo shoot. Okay? So that's just entering in the data here. Now, we need to actually set up what this what the mileage rates are. So at the top of this window here, you're going to see that you have previous, next, spelling, vendor list, mileage rate, and then you have mileage reports, etc., right? You're actually going to click on mileage rate. So this is where you have to set this up manually so then you can get the correct amount to get reimbursed for this trip here. So in this case, I clicked on mileage rate, okay? And I need to select the date that it occurred. So in this case, as you can see, it says from 2010 and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change one of these, and I'm going to fast forward it. I'm going to say this is for 2021. Okay. So again, your numbers might be different here. I believe your book says you want to put 2025, but that doesn't exist. So in this case, right, I'm going to make sure that it's 2021. And what you're going to see here, it's going to change. It's going to say, well, not really, but it's going to say it's 52 cents. Okay. I believe in the future, it's like 0.55 cents, if I'm not mistaken. But that's okay. Once again, it's based on the information that you put in here. So in this case, if you do put fast forward that this was for 2025, it should say that it should be 0.0, oops, no, typo. Okay, it's going to be for 0.575, I think. Okay, that's what your book says. All right, once you have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and make sure you click the date correct, and then I'm going to go ahead and click close. So that's the mileage rate you have there. And then everything that you put in here, okay, so there you go. So there you go. So I drove a total of 210 miles. Now, because when I put this customer in here, right, on the right side tells me, do you want to bill this customer? And in this case, yes, I do want to make this billable. All right. So once everything looks good, you want to go ahead and click save and close. Okay. So now you got the beep of approval. So now the question is, let's go ahead and bill Mr. Bob Mason. Okay. So this is where multiple pass-on bills are going to come into play, because this whole entire time, every single thing that we built here, we've never billed Bob Mason once, okay? We've been doing Maria Cruz over and over and over again, right? Now, this is also where we can show you that you can tack on as many pass-on billables expenses as many times as you want, or as many as you can, okay? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and type in Bob Mason. Okay, Bob Mason. And he's going to get this time and billable window coming up. And I'm going to click OK. Now let's go ahead and take a look. In each single category, he has something in there. He's got something for time. He's got something for expenses. He's got something for mileage. And he's got something for items. So once again, this was everything that we did for his photo session. Now, the very first one we're going to do is we're going to select every single one of them. So again, Mr. for the time, right? Mike Mizuki spent a lot of time doing his photo session. Okay, print select time and cost as one invoice. No, I'm gonna leave it the way it is. Okay, let's check out expenses. Expenses says for Ace Supply that we bought a specialized film for him. Okay. For the mileage we just entered in, right? Maybe Mike had to drive all the way up there, right? And he had to drive a total of 210 miles. So here, wow, the rate was not even recognized. So in this case, I guess the rate was okay. We have to change that on the form itself. And then we got items. Items here. We had the photographers. If you guys remember, we had 15 photographers for Mr. Bob Mason's. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and click this again. I can't do that. No, I can't. Okay? So then, now that I selected all the items here, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So it's going to drop down everything that I owe for that Bob Mason owes for this entire thing. So as you can see, reimbursable sub is already here. Okay. So first thing I got to do is I got to actually change the mileage, because in this case, right, it did not recognize what it cost me. So I actually have to go into here and change the rate to be what it was before, which was the 0.575, right? That's what the reimbursable line said. I don't know why it did not register that, but there you go. I'm going to go ahead and reconfirm that it should be 0.575 cents, okay, per mile. All right. And again, it should also have that you drove 210 miles there. So here it lists everything that Bob Mason has done here. So instead of this reimbursable subtotal, I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be, okay, never mind. That, edit, undo. So we can leave that alone. So right here at the bottom says total reimbursable expenses, right? Gave me a grand total of $3,880 $6.11. So this was a huge project, and once again we charged everything. So again, it says right here, change total reimbursements to total services. Oh, I see it right here. So I have to change this to total services. Okay. So total services, okay? And once again, we want to say thank you for your business, okay? And my memo here is total cost or total services for outdoor photo session on 210. Okay. So once again, anything that's taxable is taxed. Anything that's not taxable is not taxed. So therefore, in grand total, he owes me $9.98 of tax, which brings a grand total of this amount right here. So with that being said, that's how you're able to link multiple expenses and just bill one client or one customer for everything that was there. Okay. And I click save and close. Right. Any questions in regards to this entire chapter 9 for time billing and billable expenses?
No.
Okay. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and fast forward to the review questions. Okay. So again, this is only optional if your company provides those reimbursements. But if it doesn't, then you don't need to. This chapter is not really as important as payroll or anything like that. So there are some certain sections in here that are more important than other things because it also has to apply to your company. Okay. So let's go ahead and go over the review questions, okay? So again, please select the best answer for the following. Okay, number 1, in QuickBooks, you are allowed to pass through billable expenses to customers.
C.
C is correct. Okay, if you used bill, check or credit card charges and then assign the customer / job in which the expenses apply to. Okay, so yes. All right. Number 2, okay, which account types can be used in the expenses tab for purchasing transactions to make the expense billable?
D.
D is correct. All of the above, right? We talked about this. It was on the very first page of the chapter, right? You can only do it for a cost of goods sold, any expense account, other expenses. The only ones you cannot do is an actual income account. Okay. Number 3, okay, if you want to assign an expense to a customer slash job, but don't want to pass through to them for the reimbursement, okay, do the following in a purchase transaction.
B.
B, right? You're going to have, you assign the customer such job, but you need to make sure that you remove that check mark off the billable question right there, right? So again, there's a setting for that. If you are going to be constantly having reimbursements, then I would recommend you to go through the company preferences and make sure you click on that all expenses are billable, or all customer jobs that you assign are going to be billable to them. But if you don't have reimbursements at all, then I recommend you to make sure you check mark that off. So every time you bill a customer, right, it doesn't automatically bill them. Okay. All right, number 4. Okay, which of the following tabs appear in the choose billable time and cost window?
D.
D, all of the above is correct, right? We saw items, we saw expenses, and we saw time. We also saw mileage. Nothing else is going to be on there. There's only 4 tabs and 4 tabs only. Okay. Number 5, if an invoice, okay, you can automatically mark up the pass-through expenses using the markup account option, okay, and which is only available in the choose billable time and cost window on which tab?
Is it B?
B, it was only available on the expenses tab. There was no section for it under time because, like I mentioned before, how can you mark up time, right? How can you mark up mileage? And for items, you have to mark them manually on the actual sales form. But for expenses, you can mark them up, right? Only option is markup. Only option here is expenses. Number 6, okay, to track reimbursable expenses in one expense account and then reimburse it in another income account, what do you need to do?
C.
C, you're going to do both A and B, which is correct. You're going to A, select the track reimbursable expense as income option for the time and expense company preferences. Yes, that's what we did. And then, of course, you're going to also associate each reimbursable expense account with an appropriate income account. So in this case, B is actually optional. Like I mentioned before, you don't necessarily have to do that because you can just go on manually and make it billable yourself. Okay, but this just makes it so that it's automatic. Okay. Number 7, if you select print selected time and cost as one invoice item, okay, which of the following will be true?
D.
D, okay? All of the above will be true, okay? In this case, let's go over the answers. All reimbursable expenses will be printed on a single line in the body of the printed invoice. Yes, if you guys remember, right? I couldn't preview it for you, but that's exactly what happens. When you do that, it prints it into one line item, so it hides anything that you've done to the actual item itself, okay? B says a group's called reimbursable group will be created on the invoice displayed. Yes, okay? And then C says reimbursable group will include the details on all the expenses that you selected on the invoice. Yeah, so if you remember the very last example there, it listed all the reimbursable expenses And it gave you that very line item right there that says total reimbursable costs and expenses. Okay. Number 8, two-sided items can be used for
D.
D. Again, all of the above is true, right? To redo a reimbursable expense, to do custom orders, and for subcontractor labor. Yes, I gave you an example of all 3 of them. Okay. Number 9, okay? For a two-sided non-inventory item setup window, a specific cost/sales price, okay? How would you record the markup in the actual sales price? So in this case, when you have a two-sided non-inventory part item, right? How do you mark it up on the sales form?
Is it C?
C, manually adjusted the price by on the sales form for the markup. Yes. So if you remember when we did custom cameras, or we did the custom camera example, I couldn't put the markup directly on to like the setup for the item. However, I was able to do it through the actual sales form itself. So C is the correct answer. Okay. Number 10, to see a detailed listing of all the billable expenses and items that you have not passed through to invoices, what do you need to do?
C.
Okay, number 10 is C, correct. Okay, you're going to create an unbilled cost by job report. Yes. Okay, so again, I didn't go over the reports, but you should have read the book and you should know this one. Okay. Number 11, vehicle mileage tracker allows you to this is one that is pretty straightforward.
Oh, I'm going to say A.
Yes, it allows you to track vehicle mileage, post the mileage to an invoice, and it allows you to run reports to assist you with the preparation. Okay. All right, number 12. Okay. Before you can use the time tracking feature, you must
C.
C is correct, right? You must turn on the time tracking in time and expenses preferences. Yes, remember, you need to turn on the tracking in order to use the tracking. All right, if you don't have it available, you must turn it on through the company preferences. All right, number 13 says, if you plan to use timesheets to create paychecks, you should
B.
B, as in boy.
Good. B as in boy, record all of the times for each employee, including non-billable times, etc., such as sick, vacation pay, yada, 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 administrative work time, and on the timesheet. Yes. So we took a look at that, right? Again, because it's a small section, right, where we're filling out the employee's timesheet. Again, that was dealing with time and how we can pass it along. But that also ties into when we actually do payroll, which we're going to set up payroll tomorrow, right? And Monday, we're actually going to issue the paychecks, okay? But yes, if you're using timesheets for the purpose of payroll, yes, you would just create the timesheet just as normal and include all the hours that each individual employee has done, okay? Number 14, timesheets provide the basics information for a job costing, but they do not actually record job costs. Okay, to use the timesheet information to record the job cost, you have to pass the timesheet information onto a blank.
Is it B?
Letter A.
Letter A for, oh, wait, hold on, this is 14? 14 is letter A, yes.
Yeah, I got A too.
Okay, good. So it's paycheck, check, bill, or credit card charges. So in this case, 14 is basically saying if you use the timesheets, right, and you're trying to pass the cost along without actually tracking the cost, how can you be able to use the job costing as the information? So again, it would be written on the paycheck, and then if you write a regular check or anything like that, or a bill, right, you could pass it on to a bill, and it will pretty much identify it for you there. Okay. So it wasn't necessarily just only invoices only. Again, that's just only one criteria, but it is for letter A. Okay. Last but not least, question 15. After you post the timesheets information to paychecks and then invoices, the timesheet will affect what? D, all of the above, right? Once you create that paycheck and you selected the invoices that you're going to bill, it will affect 1, income, 2, job costing, and 3, expenses, right? Because once you do that, it will do the job cost reports again, because if the employee created this or did the job, right, and made it billable on their timesheet and they got paid for it, of course, because you're linking the job to that particular employee, it will definitely affect the job cost reports because you're generating revenue, yes, and of course it's going to be for all the expenses, including payroll expenses. So yes, D, all of the above is going to be correct. So other than that, any questions in regards to chapter 9?
No.
All right. So homework for today is going to be to read up chapter 10